Hello everyone, thanks for tuning into today's video. I'm going to do JMA Friday today. As always on a Friday, we're having a look at the weather for the month ahead. And this is going to take us through most of December. So we're going to be running through the first month of the autumn with this update. It's not the autumn forecast, that'll be released tomorrow morning. Gaz, it'll be interesting to see what we predict with the December forecast. But this is going to take us through the month with the Japanese and CFS V2 models. So we'll see what the model is suggesting for today. In a moment, before I get on with that, just say about the ads. There's linked articles on all the pages. Have a browse widgets and click through the links. If there's any articles that you're interested in, you help me space website. Thanks so much for doing that. And Chris Shop is still open. We opened it on the 1st of November. It's running through to Christmas. You've still got time to get Chris shopping out to you via Amazon. But I suggest you get on with it. You've got any shopping to do. Don't leave it too much longer because we are counting down the days now, of course, to Christmas. So if you've got any Christmas shopping to do on Amazon, what you have to do is click the green button that says Christmas Shop. It takes you to our Christmas Shop page. And then from there, the key to it all is to click through the Amazon banners. You go straight through to Amazon and you just do your Christmas shopping as normal. Don't need to do anything differently. The only difference is that you've gone from Gaz to Amazon, which means we get a revenue fee on the things that you are buying. And a big thank you to everybody for doing that. Just say later on today, we're going to have the, I think it's the 15th Christmas update. The 14th was very cold and snowy update that we did a couple of nights ago. Be interesting to see what the 15th update says when we do that at 7 o'clock this evening, so come back for that tonight. Right, let's get on with JMA Friday. We're going to start off with 500 high anomalies from the Japanese model, break it down into weekly periods. The first week period will take us through the week that we're just starting, the 2nd through to the 9th of December. Red extrapolates high pressure and blue to low pressure on these charts. So for the coming week, we've got a big ridge of high pressure, big area of above average heights, obviously there into the UK and much of west of Europe as well. Notice this trough over in America, that could bring some cold weather. There hasn't been much cold weather in the United States so far this season, but it could bring a burst of winter into America, particularly northern eastern parts of America, through the next week or so. For us, though, we're under that ridge, and it looks mostly settled with a lot of dry weather. Maybe it's a very deep trough that we've got here in the Atlantic, just here. So maybe with time through the course of the coming week, this breaks down to some degree, the ridge. But I'd expect quite a lot of anticyclonic influences still over the next week. Now, JMA isn't really seeing a sign of a change for week 2 either, so this takes us from the 9th through to the 16th of December. Now, there's no real sign that we're going into an unsettled phase here. We've just got a big ridge of above average heights, high pressure still sitting there across the UK and central parts of central western parts of Europe as well. It means that the jet stream and the flow again is doing something like that. But you can bring a lot of cold air into the east and northeast of Europe if this is right, this trough just here. And notice things easing across America as well, so probably becoming a little bit milder there. But for us, up to the middle part of December, looks like we keep a fair amount of dry and fairly mildish weather going, albeit underneath high pressure at this time of year, it can get quite cold. And then we go to weeks 3 and 4, which takes us to the second half of December. So this takes us from the 16th through to the 30th of December. And we see quite a change taking place then. So we get this area of above average height setting up around into the south of Greenland, also going down towards Newfoundland. And then there's below average heights running to the south of the UK. So I think the jet stream here is doing something a little bit like that. It probably places us on the cold side of the jet there through the second half of December. And it might bring in colder air from the east. This above average heights isn't in an ideal position to be delivering us cold weather. You would want that more in this sort of area, which would then really be able to entrench those cold, sort of northerly, easterly winds down into that trough. But I think it does suggest, as we go through the second half of December, it turns colder compared to the first half and perhaps a bit more unsettled as well, to be honest. This trough could be putting the winds in a bit like that, so it might be bringing up milder air from the south, actually. But I think overall we'll say that the JMA is suggesting a colder sort of latter stage to December. Remember, this is a 2-week anomaly covering weeks 3 and weeks 4 of December. So it could be a bit transition. It might be the first week 3 is fairly mildish, and then something cold for week 4, which is Christmas week, of course. Let's have a look and see how the temperature anomalies and precipitation anomalies are doing for the next month. So that was the northern hemisphere view from the pole down. This is the mid-latitude and tropical view. The UK up here in the top right-hand corner of the chart as you're looking at it. So a reminder of the week 1 scenario, which is just for high pressure to be sitting there over the top of the country, really dominating the weather from the 2nd through to the 9th of December. That leaves us with a significantly drier than average week coming up, so lots of dry weather in store with below average precipitation. And then the temperatures are coming out milder than average as well, particularly to the northwest. Notice most parts of Europe are looking colder. So again, this is perhaps a bit transitional. We're starting off quite cold where we are right now, so to keep it cold up towards the weekend at the start of next week, and then perhaps turn it milder later next week. We go through into week 2, which is the 9th through 16th of December. Again, lots of above average height, so it does suggest high pressure is in and dominates. There is an idea within the shorter range ones, the GFS and the ECMWF at the moment, that it's going to turn quite unsettled later next week, and we keep fairly wet conditions running up towards the middle part of December. But JMA isn't seeing that. It's seeing above average heights and high pressure to continue to dominate. So the precipitation for that week 2 period, it was 9th through 16th of December, goes a little bit wetter than average for Scotland, but still drier than average for most other places. Precipitation going up to the middle part of December, I should say temperature going up to the middle part of December, also looking significantly milder than average. So a mild and fairly dry period up to mid-December. And then the second half of December, we get this change. So we've got the trough of low pressure down to the south and the above average heights over here. And we thought we might be turning the winds into a colder sort of northerly, northeasterly direction. Precipitation still generally coming out a little bit drier than average through most parts of the country. What about the temperatures? They're cooling off. So our interpretation was okay. It looks like it's certainly turning cooler. Could be turning colder there. Over on this side of the chart, we see many parts of Europe going colder than average. As ever, we're on the periphery between the Atlantic and continental landmass, so it's always a bit more complicated for us. But I think as we go through the second half of December, the JMA model is definitely with the idea that after a mild first half, we get a colder second half. That might be as we particularly run up towards Christmas. CFS V2 is looking like this. So these are 500 millibar heights, again broken down to week periods. The first week period takes us from the 2nd to the 8th of December. Places is big over above average heights over the UK, trough of low pressure, the Atlantic, and over towards the eastern part of Europe. The jet stream and the flow doing something a bit like that. So cold and wintry for Eastern Europe here. For us, we're under this ridge, so a lot of dry and settled weather. Starting off fairly cool and then turning milder later. Week 2 is the 9th through to the 15th. This is when the JMA is really hinting at quite a mild period. Not as settled though, CFS. What it wants to do is have this trough of low pressure to the north. The ridge is down to the south through the Azores into the Mediterranean. So this is a straightforward, flat, westerly flow. That does look mild, perhaps very mild there. Up to through the second week of December, up to the middle part of the month. Now let's go through to weeks 3 and 4. So we have a look at week 3, which is the 16th through to 22nd of December. Changes in the pattern here. The trough of low pressure is more towards the northwest. We've got this ridge through the central Atlantic and also a ridge building across Central Europe and towards Scandinavia. That leaves the flow possibly doing something a bit like that. So I would have thought that one is likely to be quite changeable possibly fairly mild as well, because I would have thought we are bringing up southeasterly type influences, southerly to southeasterly. Of course, southerly will be quite mild, but southeasterly could actually be quite cold. So that might be a bit transitional, going towards something a little bit colder perhaps later. And then week 4, which is the 23rd through to 29th of December, this covers Christmas. That shows a big area of above average heights then over Scandinavia, quite interestingly. So I think what happens there, it's maybe turning winds into the east, which would be colder, of course. We'll start to drag in colder air from the east of us. Or it may be sort of southeasterly, which again is going to be quite cool, but not as cold as easterly. It's a little bit uncertain, because what you need to do really is run the low pressure through the Med like that, which will then give us a proper easterly flow. There's not really much sign of that, but the core of that above average heights is definitely being placed over Scandinavia, which is quite interesting for the Christmas week, and could potentially, no more than that, but potentially could give us quite a cold end to December, and of course coinciding with Christmas. Temperature anomalies with CFSV2, the coming week from the 2nd through to 8th of December looks cold and average in the south, a little bit milder than average in the north. Then week 2, this is when we've got that flat westerly, so you'd expect it to be mild there in week 2. Second week of December definitely looks like it's setting up a very mild spell. So the 9th through to the 15th, that comes out milder than average. Then we keep it milder than average through week 3, although to a lesser degree, so that might be changing something a little bit colder later. And then what's it doing for week 4? It's still showing milder than average conditions in week 4, despite the fact it's placing that ridge over Scandinavia. I'm not sure about that at all. I would have thought that's likely to be significantly cold now. Even if it's not a desperately cold easterly wind, with the ridge in there over Scandinavia, I would have thought we are likely to have a significantly cooler, colder end to December. Precipitation, so the next week is looking drier than average CFSV2. Then it turns very wet through week 2. The 9th through to 15th looks really mild, really wet with CFSV2. JMA doesn't go that far with this signal, wants to keep it fairly anticyclonic, so we have got a disagreement there for week 2. And then weeks 3 and 4, well, week 3 looks a little bit drier, close to average, and then week 4 it looks like we're losing the signal, but if anything we are shifting a little bit more onto the drier side of things. So it's a little bit complicated. Excuse me, it's a little bit complicated. But reading between the lines, it looks like we've got a fairly anticyclonic and quite cold start to December, turning milder later next week, and then running that mild weather through the second week of December. This does look like it could be the mildest period of the month, second week up to middle part of December. Then the second half of the month, very complicated, but I think between the lines we might still be seeing that signal as we get through towards particularly the final week to 10 days of December. We get something colder, potentially significantly colder, but that's only potential, and we're going to have to wait and see how that plays out. So that's the plan this morning with JMA Friday for December. We'll see how it plays out when we do it again next Friday. Tomorrow we've got the December month ahead forecast coming up. That'll be in the morning, as well as the week ahead forecast and Kansas Saturday, so a big day coming up tomorrow with lots of updates. And this evening, of course, we've got the 15th Christmas update, so come back for that. Right, that's all for now. Thanks for watching.